Councilmember Banks.
Will there be loss of parking spaces with daylighting?
So, yes, but the inherent nature of it is that we would have to restrict parking on the approach to intersections.
Okay. And the last thing, again, I just want to point out a major concern is the loss of parking. That's something, obviously, my office, especially in those particular areas where there's a lack of parking, there's a need for more parking spaces for those particular areas, and we definitely have to take in consideration that we understand there's a need for safety, but when folks have to double park and block the street late at night just to get parking, that shouldn't be. So if you're gonna do things to take that stress off of residents, that's something I would support. But if it's definitely gonna put a strain on already scarcity in parking, that obviously something that I'm not a supporter of.
I'm Alex Duncan, also sometimes known as Miser. And I know we talked about this a lot today, but this bill is ultimately, of course, about safety. But this can feel a bit like an abstraction, even to those of us that are closest to this work. So I just want to remind everyone that the movement that led to this, as we've heard, I think, a few times today, was a 7-year-old girl that was killed in Astoria. She was crushed to death by a car. And since then, hundreds more people, including a lot of kids, have been killed by cars. And if we wait even longer, thousands will die. This was a preventable tragedy. And there are people right now in this city that are walking around that are alive because of the daylighting that's already been done. So this bill, of course, as we all know, will save lives. But more importantly, the inverse of this is also true, that the council members that are not here, that are not yet supporting the bill, are costing lives, right? They're choosing to not support something that will save lives. Unfortunately, they're not here in this room to hear all this and to see all the support and the hundreds and maybe thousands of people in this city that are calling for them to actually act. And I specifically want to call out Councilmember Banks, who earlier talked about how he prioritizes car parking over kids' lives. I think that's reprehensible, and I think that all the council members that are not on the bill, I hope they actually hear from their staff that we are watching, we know who you are, we are going to vote against you and fundraise against you and run candidates against you. Because if you can't say that you support keeping your constituents and their kids alive over the storage of private cars, you should not be an elected representative in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. And just point of clarification, while I don't want to speak on behalf of Councilmember Banks, I think it's important, and as we've heard from some of the council members, to understand that certain corridors are a bit nuanced because of the lack of parking, but not saying that they don't want safety there either, but looking at other safety mechanisms. So I just don't want to conflate, that statement.
I know, but to be fair, he did say that he wanted to prioritize car parking, which is a sentiment we've heard from a lot of the council members in the outer reaches of the city that aren't supporting it.
We live in car-heavy districts, and at the end of the day, there have been a number of reasons why parking has been removed from one program to the next. But again, I live in a car-heavy district. I support daylighting.
Yeah.
But there are certain corridors that it may not necessarily make sense.
I thank you for that, and I thank you for your support. But with all due respect, they may be car-heavy, but they're also kid-heavy. Right? Kids live in all of these districts.
Absolutely.
People live in all these districts.
And one can argue that DOT should prioritize the hard infrastructure that we've been calling for a number of years now. So there are a number of tools in the toolbox, but I just don't want to misrepresent something when Councilmember Banks is not here. And again, I'm not trying to speak for him, but just want to clarify because I have a very similar district.
That's fair. I hope we hear from statements from all of them about where their priorities lie, because that's what we're actually debating here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.